All right.
Let's call the March IDA meeting to order. Start with the draft minutes. In February, everybody have a chance to take a look at those?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
everybody in favor?
Aye. Yeah. There were just some clarifications that Wayne had wanted that there was a carryover from the prior meeting that the meeting was called to order by the vice chair. That was January, not February. So with that correction.
Okay, Glad, financials treasury report.
Okay, so let's start with the treasurer's report. So you'll see that we have, at the last meeting, we approved some resolutions covering our ability to transfer funds, loan funds out of the IDA. So we've transferred those funds. We decided to do an abbreviated process for transferring the actual loans. With some research, we found that we don't necessarily need a borrower's approval. We just need to provide them 15 days notice and an opportunity to comment on the transfer of their loan from the IDA to the LDC. So we got those letters all out. So moving forward, the majority, and when we get to the loan report, I'll explain why. The majority of all the IDA loans that were previously there are now appearing on the LDC report, treasurer's report, and loan report. So then what's on here is strictly IDA. I don't have any comments on the treasurer's report for the IDA other than that. Similarly, on the local development corp treasurer's report, all those loan accounts were transferred into the LDC loan fund account. That's one that is, for lack of better words, our money. You know, it's not tied to, you know, any type of federal oversight or reporting. We just received, thanks to Doge, we just received approval to be able to move the RBEG 4 account into the LDC one as well. Why I mention that is because we report to this office in Syracuse. Through Doge, they have wiped that office out. So there's no more reporting requirements.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Things are easier now.
Yes. So that will help us with management of accounts more internally. We still have a lot just because we have so many reserve accounts. And then also, I did have a correction on the LDC. So the agri-lending program balance is actually 509,345.70. The difference is the agri-lending program reserve account. So when that money got transferred over, Tabitha forgot to redo the agri-lending number. And so with that, we've got our reserve for when we have to start paying back. I still haven't heard anything. So I'm gonna fund that account according to what I agreed to, and we'll go from there.
Your expectations are that you're good.
I'm gonna fight it every step of the way. Okay, so that's the treasurer's report. Then on to the loan report on the IDA side. So this is again not the proper way to put it, but we've transferred everything over except our dogs and our mortgages. So and anything related to the Millennium account. I was supposed to do this before the meeting to let you know. So number 1, number 15, there's another one. And no, maybe it is just those. No, number 1, 15, and 14, those are mortgages being held by the IDA. Number 3, 4, 5, which is going to get written off in this year's audit. 12 are Millennium Fund loans, and then the rest are what they are. So
Right off of the audit, that,
the write-off is on number 5. Yeah.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a remainder from when they sold their property and assets, and we forgave a small portion of it. And then, so just on some of our other ones, number 2, I was promised that this is the summer that there would be a payoff. Just for clarifications, 6, 7, and 8, we're waiting for, still just seeing how things go through bankruptcy. You know, the assets have all been sold. Now it's just, there's some legal process that I didn't really worry too much about. We've got our attorney working on it, for when the bankruptcy court will approve everything and start dispersing proceeds. Number 9 is with our attorney. I don't have an update on that one. Number 11 and 13 are they just went over to our attorney probably last week or maybe the week before, and as luck may have it, our attorney has previously done business with those 2 individuals, so he's working on that one, along with along with another one that shows up on the LDC.
So just,
yeah.
I guess I never noticed this, on 13, there was not one payment ever made.
No.
That's interesting. So that was
the
COVID timeframe?
Yeah, so yeah, it was a get him up and running smoked salmon business. He had some contracts in place, and through a variety of, very sad circumstances, it just never came to fruition. And it's time to pay the piper.
Okay, the one in foreclosure,
Yes,
the one in foreclosure, are we gonna end up with the property or will it be auctioned off and set paid?
it will be auctioned off. It's just, so there has been an auction scheduled 3 different times and it's been postponed each time. So this is the one where the people, a group who had come to us for a loan to purchase this property that we declined, they believe they purchased some of the debt of our borrower, and therefore they now somehow have standing in this whole foreclosure process, which they do not. And they just keep filing with the judge and he keeps, denying it, but every time there's like a 3-month, time frame for him to rule on it. So.
So-
Minister guy that was in here or something, was that?
No, it was an older couple. They were gonna create the museum.
They were Amish or something.
No, they weren't Amish.
I couldn't remember what it was. It was an Indian village and then there was gonna be something else out back or something. No?
Yes, yeah.
And then they threatened.
Yes. Yes. And now they're just delaying that whole
So
process.
more than likely, there'll be some write-off on that before we're done.
So if and when the property sells, so we are a second mortgage on that. Let me just get to it. Yeah. So we are a second mortgage. We're behind what originally was 69, but I'm sure there's new interest and penalties associated with it. On a reasonable basis, we should be okay. Okay. I'm gonna bring that up later. Yeah, I'll bring that up later. Okay, so, oh no, we're going over it now, so I'll just do it. So under lease, payments. The top one there, that's a lease to own, arrangement with, a company over in Sydney. They're doing very well over in Sydney. Currently they pay, 2,000 and change. They're currently paying $2,400 a month on their lease. The lease to own is expiring in April. And the remainder of the balance on that is $130,595.21. The owner of the company has asked that now with the lease expiring, and I can do a whole loan presentation on this in April if you would like, but I'm just bringing it to your attention. He would like to just see if the IDA is willing to hold paper on the remainder on the lease to own payment on a 6-year basis, 4% interest. It would actually lower his monthly payment from $2,400 a month down to $2,043.19 a month. But if you would prefer, I can just present that as a full-on loan presentation next month.
Anyway, they had a great history of leasing there for.
It's been 7 years and he's never missed a payment.
Yeah, so he's already showed a good track record.
Yeah, and the benefit of that is this will now transfer it back to the tax rolls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Win-win.
and it gets us out of paying, you know, insurance on that property.
Win-win-win.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody's good on that?
Yeah.
Could we do that in a resolution?
So moved.
Or do you want me to present in April?
No, I think we're ready,
We were kind of hoping to get him back in Gamecock.
Okay, so according to those terms, the remaining balance, 6 years, 4% interest.
Motion,
I'll make a motion.
second,
No, I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
The second lease there, weren't they purchasing?
The second one, okay, so, yeah, we'll just jump right into that. The second, third, and fourth are all associated with 8 Winkler Road. Our leases have expired, we knew they expired. We had an issue with how the electricity is shared, I think we've talked about that. We've had a process in place for a while now. Everybody is happy with it and agrees to the numbers that it produces. So the way that works is because it's shared, we pay the electric bill up front and then we allocate it out according to usage. So now everybody's on board with that. We would like to renew those leases. So the second company on the lease payment list, they are interested in purchasing it, just not at this time frame. They'd asked if their lease could be extended for 2 more years with a non-price, but kind of like first option to purchase in the lease at the end of 2 years. Right of first refusal, thank you, yes, at the end of 2 years. And then number 3 on the list was requesting just a 1-year extension. And Number three, well, I guess so technically the fourth one down. I can say it. So they've been purchased by a former Sydney company that is now based down in Broome County. The business is not going to change. The principles of our leaseholder are going to remain. It's still the CEO. But just the ownership assets of the company now rest somewhere else. He would like to remain on a month-to-month lease with a 90-day termination for any reason on either party's side. And if they were to vacate, the first one we started talking about would love to immediately move into that area. So there would, I mean, basically it's giving them, because they've been a long-term Delaware County business, it's giving them time to move. It would not harm us at all because the second they're gone, it would be full. So I was going to, with your guys' approval, I would extend those leases according to those terms.
Do you need a motion on that, or?
Yeah, probably.
Motion to extend the relations of, number 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, and they were outlined on item 6C under the agenda.
So it's month to month, but with a 90-day.
Yes.
Oh, the last one is that, the rest is 1 to 2 year lease and,
One's a 1 and one's
Yeah.
a 2.
yeah.
1 and 2. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And that is an audit item as well, so. There are good things coming out of that, I guess, so. Admit. More of creating a fire under my butt more than actually bringing anything.
We're gonna get
into
beat
my
up on the
attention.
audit over our webpage.
Yes, we are.
Yes. I don't know.
But if there's things that we can catch now,
Soph is already working on it. By the time this audit is done, by the time we have an exit interview, I'm confident we will be in full compliance.
okay, because he told me we could submit it before they send their audit up. And
Yes,
remove
yeah,
whatever
usually
needs
that's-
to change.
Yeah, Alan and I talked about it today, and he said we have like 30 days before they're gonna be ready for that, and so Soph said she thinks she'll be. We have the document, so we've had a couple issues with our website. Previously, it was under economic development, and we don't have control. Well, we now do, but at the time, we did not have day-to-day ability to make changes to that website. That's since changed. But also, we're not supposed to conjoin. The IDA needs its own separate website. So a prior employee created one, wasn't very functional, but at least got something out there. And was not very good, and I was horrible at following up about getting things there. Soph has the background in that, and we sat down, I gave her the list of everything we need, and, she's gonna be putting it up there. Really, all it is a matter of collecting from where I have this report on my computer, and Tab has this other report on her computer, and then uploading them to the website, that's really all it is.
Her level of energy is incredible. Every time I talk to her, like, in the office up there, it's just.
And
Okay.
she would bounce it off the wall.
Yes.
It's outstanding.
She's very caffeinated.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the audit from our perspective was 2 things. One was the website, which I could go, well, I don't know, I'm the new guy, relatively speaking, but the same with the second thing, the infirmary,
Right.
concern about jobs versus not creating the jobs. So,
But I went through all that, so I went over every step of it, and we were very happy with 120, even though they quoted 180. They couldn't get 180, in places there aren't enough of them around here.
Yeah.
So
It's a great investment.
Yeah, and that's what, I've had the same, and I told them, that's an essential service for the community.
No question.
They could have said they're not gonna hire one job, I mean, obviously that'd be unrealistic. And we probably still would have done it, you know, because you need a nursing home.
I told Alan, I said, you talk about a great investment, that's the demand is never going away. In this area.
Yeah,
Couldn't go wrong with that one.
And
I still got that corner room reserved. Looking over the valley.
And if worse to worse, they could make one for assisted living or something, if that was the future, but, you know, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I will write it up for some, because they have to.
Oh, yeah.
This thing on the website though. It seems like every time in any of the different divisions of county government, we always seem to come back to like the website was created by somebody. You know, they did it part-time in the basement or something.
Yeah.
I mean, what if we just actually hired somebody who knew what the hell they were doing? We spent big money. to get
Well, so
we
that's what
want.
we did with our website, and that was created by them. But they used, this is the wrong language, I wish Soph was here. They used a platform or a coding language that prior employees had no experience with. It was not intuitive. And,
Because one time, it seemed like the Chamber of Commerce, they did one and the platform was proprietary to the people
same company, but
Okay,
we've
yeah.
since rested that proprietary, that we've settled that.
Okay.
No, it's ours. We have proprietary control. So that was an issue a couple years ago. That's been addressed. Now it's that the platform itself is an outdated mode and me, whatever, I'm a moron with that stuff. But other staff had difficulty with it. That's why Sean created the new one in a different format. Soph is up to speed on both languages. She doesn't have that issue. So she can do whatever she needs. And we no longer need to, for the longest time, it was like, oh, here's changes we want to make. We submit them to the company. We end up on the bottom of the stack of job orders this big.
Yeah.
3 months later, it gets done. So now, you know, I tell Soph, we need to put this on the website. It's there in 5 minutes. So,
Outstanding.
yes.
So part of
Websites
her
are
job
famous
is
for,
to do
you
that.
know, somebody like me, tech guy, great. I know how to do a website, but nobody else would be able to follow me.
Right.
And I'm not that creative as far as, you know, the graphics that go on there. So that's what I think he's
Well,
saying.
it seems
with-
like every 3 to 5 years, we run into the same thing again. Now, whether that's the weight of the thing, it's always 3 to 5 years, you're doing it again.
A lot of that's
Or
changed.
we're not getting the right people.
We have these things called CMSs, content management
Right, but
I
systems.
would highly recommend, based on my experience, that you, while she's doing this, Sophie's doing it, make sure you have
She's
somebody.
teaching
sit-
Lindsay how to
Okay,
do
I just
it.
wanna make sure, because that was one of my biggest, we did that at Sportsfield, we took it from a proprietary to a more widely used.
General
Based,
CMS.
yeah, and my son, I had hired Chad, who, great job. Then he went on to the job that paid this much, and I still talk to him, I don't know why, but we lost all that. So I had to hire him back to train this, and I said, never again, we will have somebody always there learning as they go with the expert per se. It's the only way to go if you're gonna
but
have continuity in your websites.
We've never had anybody on staff that had the time where it was their responsibility. Now we do, so that should correct all that.
Yeah, so like on our economic development website, she has already addressed some of our glaring flaws. There's more to do, but it's kind of like, okay, that's okay. Now this audit is like, you know, and this, I only sat down with her last week, the end of last week, about the IDA, I'm like, all right, that's on hold. It's okay for now. This IDA one is now the primary focus. So that'll be substantially different. Very soon.
And my talking about something. Do we get any funding from the county?
The IDA?
Yeah,
Yes.
this idea, not.
Yeah,
your
this idea.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. $221 and $221,750.
Yeah, they ask about that too. It's like, I don't know.
Well, it came out just because with soil and water, no one could find an agreement where the county was.
Oh, we have a contract with the
Right,
county.
and that's what
Yeah.
we're looking at. So we do one up with the county. Penny brought it to our attention that they can't find one where there's an agreement, so we have to come up with one.
Yes.
Even though it automatically counts because at budget time they approve it, so that automatically makes it legal. They just want some backup, so if they're
Yes,
audited.
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that money for?
Salt water.
This Delaware County Soil and Water District.
Yeah, so starting with 24, that was our first contract year
Oh, okay.
with
so-
the county, so
so
this
it's
is our
been
second year of the contract.
Alright.
Yeah.
So they're just going through everybody they do and making sure they have an agreement. Just to protect. Yeah, okay.
And so our level has been at that for a while. I haven't asked for an increase because I don't know how aware they are that they give us that much as it is, so.
Elon knows.
Backfire.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, you will.
They're gonna start giving money to villages, they need to give it to.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay,
Did we approve the financial?
no, because I
report?
haven't gotten through the
Oh.
LEC loan report yet.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Okay, so number 9, we have, so a bunch of these, we now meet once every other week. I missed the last one, but Tab and Lindsay took over. So we've got a process moving forward. Number 9 has received and signed for
8 or 9?
a, what?
8 or 9?
Number 9.
Okay.
Number 9 has received and signed for a certified letter, letting them know that they're in default and actions they need to take. We haven't had communications with them yet. We will be following up next week.
I have number 8.
I have number 8 as well.
Sorry, number 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have my good reading glasses today. Okay, so number 8. Number 23 is in the same boat. Lindsay talked to them yesterday or Wednesday. We have a meeting set up with him for early next week.
That's the one we're covered pretty well.
With the guarantor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 29, again, certified letter. Oh, this was one of the ones she missed on updating the original balance because there was 2 loans there, so it isn't more than we lent them. I apologize for that. The outstanding balance is correct. So they have closed the business. Our collateral is the property. So we've got good collateral and they've been served, they've received their default notice and we will be working it out. Number 39, I'm a little disappointed because we always have great communication with them. This was just a seasonal issue with restaurants. They're in the process of getting caught up. Number 43, this one is probably gonna go straight to foreclosure and collections. We've got a meeting set up next week to try to provide some options. But yeah, not great.
Did we have a collateral on that one? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
An Amish barn and a bunch of kitchen equipment, on a
If it was ever
disposal
purchased.
basis, it's probably worth $30,000.
Do we, and we knew that when we did that one, that we were taking a high risk.
So is that, did they actually purchase that or are they leasing it?
The Amish,
Yeah.
yeah, everything was purchased.
It was purchased. okay.
Yes, yeah. And there are no other liens. We were the only ones dumb enough. So, yeah. But I just so Lindsay is a bulldog on this one because she's like, that was one of my first loans. So she takes it really personal.
Yeah.
Living alone.
Yeah,
We weren't told either, that we
Yeah.
knew that it was high risk and
Yeah.
As we were exchanging.
Yeah, and oh, and then number 54, I don't know why that wasn't in red. That's with our attorney, he's on it. There has been some further actions taken against that person. It is likely that we will have a partial but still significant loss. Probably in the range of like 30 to 35,000. But the remainder of it is solid because we had a filed title lien on the property or on the trailer that served as collateral. So probably gonna take a loss, but it shouldn't be a full loss.
Okay, what about 79?
Did I miss one?
The last one.
Very,
The
79.
79.
The-
Yes, so we've been in contact with them, so 79 and 78 are the same owners. One was a startup loan based on equipment, the other one was a real estate loan. They really what was the matter is they have cash flow issues over the winter. And they've requested a change in the timing of their payments. The vast majority of our payments are the first of the month. With the two loans hitting at the same time, they were having trouble. Instead of communicating with us, they waited till we communicated with them, which we have. We've now got them on a split monthly schedule. So I don't think we're gonna they're not gonna catch up. At the end of the day, let me see the amount there if you could, because I don't know why I have an old version, sorry, before it was switched to,
there you go.
yeah, I have the old version before it was switched over to the LDC. So it's two payments. Basically, what we agreed to do is we're gonna add one payment on to extend the loan, because there's only 6 more months to it. And then they will make up the other payment. So we're probably gonna leave that past due payment amount of just one payment moving forward until we get to the end. Just so, you know, it helps us stay in touch with them. But yeah, they will get caught up on one of the past dues. The other one is just gonna be extended to the end of the term.
Yeah, I guess my concern there is if they're showing weakness on the lower loan, you know, does that have any implications for the higher loan?
I don't think so because their personal financial strength is strong.
That's the one in Margaretville.
Yes,
And they have a lot to lose on the large one.
yes, yeah. It's the one close to the CWC, kind of kitty corner across the street, on the riverside. It's the last one on the
Yeah.
riverside,
It was like a garage and then it was gonna, yeah.
so they have the garage building and then the building next door to it that is connected to it.
I see on 69 that's actually the place in Walton.
Yes,
Is that just a listing of what we took over?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so we're still, I mean, even though it's not our, you
I
know,
guess
that loan was assigned to us, we're gonna collect on it. Yeah,
people in there say that they just wanna retire.
Yeah.
Selling.
yeah, I think the first one who gets them out clear, they'll take it.
Right, the two restaurants for sale alone, their books don't justify the price they're asking, so it's gonna be really hard to sell.
I think that diner crowd is killing them. I guess the pizza place across the street's up for sale too.
Right, yes, I'm talking about that one in TA.
Yeah.
Well, they're just on record.
Yeah.
Diners.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we had a new pizza place open up.
Joe.
We have a new restaurant opening up after the bowling alley opens up. So they're all gonna be fighting for the same dollar.
Yeah.
So it's gonna make them tough.
competition's good for business.
But,
Competition's good for business.
yeah, but
Business
not
is good
really
for
that much.
Unless you're in mine.
I like that. It's true. It's true.
If you're in the best.
Anything else on LDC?
Still monopoly.
We have a motion to accept both the IDA and LDC treasury and loan report. Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so where are we now? We are
135.
135 Delaware Avenue. So we had a presentation or proposal last month. One of my takeaways from the board was to figure out, get a sense, quotes if possible, or at least an estimate with a basis on what the cost of asbestos remediation would be as part of their list of requests. Since the last meeting, the proposer and I have emailed, tried to contact each other. We just haven't connected that well, you know, about moving forward. So still waiting on that. In the interim, I'm looking for some guidance on how you want me to manage these things. So there's that one proposal that's out there. And if we remember what the terms were to gift it plus remediate, well, remediate and then gift the property to the company that was interested in coming in. Then there was a second inquiry from a developer down in the Broome County area that is more retail oriented. His interest is predicated on the availability of the full lot, not just the piece we own, but the piece next to it. I've had several very brief but unproductive conversations with the owner of that property. We're inching forward, inching might be, we're millimetering forward in our discussions to see if he's willing to get rid of that property. And then a third inquiry came from a local company that is interested in doing something, in acquiring the property, doing something very similar to whatever, we'll fix it in the recording, Alpine Roofing, that is also located in Sydney. In a portion of the building, the remainder of it, they would create up to 10 rentable 25 by 100 manufacturing / warehousing spaces that would be available for rent. The last two that I mentioned would be interested in purchase, and we know the terms of the first one. So what I was thinking is, so the one that we had discussed at the last meeting, and this is something, I apologize for not being able to speak with Charlie directly on this. It's my understanding that their interest is predicated on the larger deal with the ACO facility. If that happens, then they want it. So for my further understanding that decision on ACO isn't expected until like mid-April now.
Yeah, it's, I think it's a pretty certain thing.
Yeah, no, it looks great from what I heard, you know, but it looks very certain. But I don't think we need to commit to, I guess we could commit to giving it to them predicated on that going through, but you know, I don't want to say, here, it's yours, then that goes away, and they say, oh, well, we'll use it for something different. Well, that wasn't kind of the agreement. So, if it is the mid-April that the other project is completed to, well, we make a decision at our April meeting, that should be fine. It's only gonna be a couple weeks later. And then what that would also do would give me, the time, not me, those other two proposals say, look, we're meeting on April, I forget what it is, 26th. I need a concrete proposal for you by that date. We'll throw all three before the board and let the board decide. So that's the direction.
A nice opportunity to have.
Yeah.
Three opportunities.
Which is interesting that that building sat vacant.
Yeah.
No, I've been here 25 and it was vacant prior to that, and nobody legitimate has wanted it. Now all of a sudden there's three.
The fact that somebody is moving into ACO is kind of.
I think that could be promoting it. Yeah.
With the big rate of the report.
Well, take that with a grain of salt.
And now, so the other thing is, so we've got three. Someone's gonna go down the road unhappy. I would prefer to try to somehow leverage the interest from those three parties into the Kmart and then also our vacant piece of property on River Street, which is 8 acres. So I'm hoping through this process, we'll be able to say, you know, to at least one of the two who go down the road, hey, sorry, but how about this piece, you know? Because also look, I'm cheap, I'm never advocating for giving anything away, but the IDA has absolutely no basis in that River Street property. It was granted to us 20 years ago by the Sydney IDA when they went defunct. So from a financial standpoint, we could literally do whatever we want and not lose a dime.
Do we know that there's asbestos in it?
There was a report, and I'm struggling to find it because it was on Evan, 2 employees ago, computers. And when he left, they're supposed to sweep his accounts or his files and put them in an employee reserve
Right.
file.
Archive,
I can't find, not that I can't find it in that reserve file, I can't find that reserve file. So I've got to have IT. Yeah, they have backups for it. Find me the backup and do it. But IT has been busy dealing with a stupid issue that the county has found itself in. So,
I just wonder because
Yes,
the
they are.
building supposedly was put up in the 80s when asbestos wasn't really.
it was done then, but I think what it is, it's in the tile on bottom. That shouldn't be an issue because it's not friable. You know, the tiles have popped, but they're not disintegrating, you know, and that's when it becomes an issue. So,
It could be a cheap date if it's just tiles, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just encapsulation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you have to do is retile it.
Yeah, we did do that at the school in a couple of spots, but it
Right
wasn't
over
that
it.
expensive as compared to the pipes and
right.
ramps and,
I guess the only thing is just reading this from the minutes from last month. You know, donate the property, do the abatement, fix the electrical form. Oh yeah, and throw us a small loan. And is there anything they were willing to do?
So I think they very much took the perspective, if you don't ask, you don't receive.
But I think he pretty much said that.
Well, the owner said it, the guy
Yeah.
trying to facilitate the sale didn't say that. He was making all the requests. The other guy was like, yeah, whatever you can do.
That's not a sale.
What's that?
That's a gift.
Yeah,
oh,
Well,
yeah, no question
In
about it.
lieu of 90+ jobs.
Yeah,
That's no guarantee.
Well,
Never
That's
is.
what, you know,
Never is.
all of a sudden it's gonna be a merry-go-round. I mean, because nothing worked out. You don't know you're gonna get 90 jobs.
well, so
Somebody gotta guarantee
if
that.
that is the way we go, then we need to structure the transfer of the property in a way that we have recourse.
That some things.
You know, so
some
like
things Could be forgiven.
so like in some of our, that would be a way to do it. It could be, look, we're gonna create this liability, but as you meet these, and it could even be at a 0%, so we can get creative.
Right.
We're gonna create this liability. It's gonna sit there at 0% for X number of years. You meet, once you hit 50 or 25 jobs, this percentage goes away. You hit 50, you hit 75, you get the full number, 100% goes away. We've done things like that.
Yeah, we
before. So we can structure, you know, that, so there are ties, which I would recommend, you know, but, you know, I think we can figure out what we want those
Right now
ties
it's
to
costing
be.
us money, so.
Right,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the gift basket doesn't have to be as large as you would like it to be.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but with the incentive that we're just talking about, you get.
We did that with,
Forgiven at this point and this point.
we did that with George Sanford and Larry Schaefer. You hit this job number, we can forgive some money.
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that in Hancock and then the one in deposit for, the stone company, yeah. So, yeah. All right, so that's my plan for Delaware Avenue. Does everybody think
all
that's
great news,
good?
no matter which
Okay,
direction.
all right,
That's great news.
move forward April. Okay, all right, I will cede the floor to our honorable chairman.
What I've got is quick. I think we all have copies of the housing report that came out. I think Glenn sent us to it in February. I know Bruce was there, I was there, Glenn was there. My summation of that is, and others can add to it, is basically we have a housing shortage. It's not just a shortage, it's an affordable shortage. There are houses available, and I know this from my kids, if you want to spend $500,000-$600,000, you can buy a house that actually you could live in my opinion. And so it's a real need. The demand is driven by lack of places to build. We can blame that on other things probably, but that's a fact. Investment from elsewhere, outside investment for, what do they call those, vacation rental by owner? and then-
Short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals, that's the best way to put it. So obviously that's been driving prices up. A lot of people moving up here from the downstate after COVID, that's been driving prices up. Bottom line is we have a shortage. One of the suggestions in that report was that we consider a land bank in Delaware County. I've started to do just some very preliminary work. I sent everybody, we added some links that you could look at. Very interesting reading, but it takes a while, and it's probably worthwhile to do because it's pretty interesting if you go to the Association of Land Banks, I think I sent you that as well, you'll see some pretty good success stories of you know, what they've been able to do. Smaller counties that have done it, you know, they do a couple, three, they've done a couple, three, others have done 50, 60 more. So how we do it, that's what we're just now getting into the discussions of. My biggest question, and I've got a call into, and I've sent him an email because I didn't get a response, Steve Gowlick at ESD, who's apparently in charge of the land bank scenario, is how do you finance it? You know, so down the road in the law, you can take half of the property tax for 5 years once it's back on the, you know, in play again, and it's been sold. You can do that. So there's some revenue there, but in the beginning, you gotta have dollars. So I'm kind of focused on that route. Where do they come from? Is it the county? Don't know. But I think at some point we're gonna have to take another step and get others involved, Shelley and Tina and whoever,
Yes.
in the discussion of, okay, we can I'll get all the details that I can, but at some point we're gonna have to say, if there's no money to create a land bank with, what's the point? You know, we can't make investments in dilapidated or.
Now, this is a topic that county planning is working on. We're having that study, we're doing some response to it right now.
Yep.
So the report can be changed a little bit, but this is gonna be a group, and I think the biggest thing that come out is that there'll be a committee formed by Tina with certain people on it to deal with this whole issue. IDA, county planning, private sector, large business owners, to try and solve the problem. That's how we can.
It's a big one.
Right.
Right, and it involves land swapping with the city, like Hobart. They would come up with a housing development, they could have land near their facility, and the city owns them all out around them, so they can't. So, you know, there's land swapping options there, and so it's a big topic, and we're looking at it from all angles.
Right, but I just think that the IDA is the natural vehicle for, you know, managing the land bank. You know, we are a public benefit.
Right, but that's just one,
corporation.
that's one little.
Right, yeah,
avenue.
so, so,
Yeah.
so that's one piece of the pie, but I think that going forward basis, that's gonna be the IDA's role. You know, maybe here and there might be an infrastructure related project, but, you know, I think that's probably gonna be a role for the IDA to play in the financing of these projects. Whereas, you know, everybody's gonna have their own piece of it. I just foresee that being our piece.
One of the links I sent you was a law that's going through the Senate right now. It's active, which I guess is a good sign. It may not be until next year maybe, but where they're talking about giving the land bank the ability to loan. All the things the IDA does, they're talking about now, including in the law that created land banks. And that's why I had an interest in saying, well, if they're gonna potentially do that anyway, I don't know what the support level is, I haven't dug that far yet, but if they're potentially doing that anyway, it falls into what we're already doing. We can loan, there's a bunch of items in there that are exactly what we do as the IDA LDC. So, we're early on in the discussions, and I think you're right, Bruce, it's gonna be this instead of, you know, one group, but it does, I think the land bank itself does fall into what we already do. You know, how much more complexity does it add? How much does it do to the resource impact? That's one of my big concerns is, do we have the resources? Plus in the law, it's required to be an independent board. So we've got that to figure out, but it's no different than probably the IDA LDC scenario in a lot of ways, so. But that's where I'm at. There's no magic to it yet. I'm still just it's just an education process at this point of what can we do. There are 35 charters available for land banks. I found out the other day there's 31 consumed, so there's 4 left. So we need to be aware of that. If we are interested, I think I sent you the application as well. We need to start talking in more detail than this little short conversation. It's of interest. I think it's a good way to do it. My biggest concern is not the application, none of that. It's how do you finance it initially? There's mechanisms downstream to finance it. In this year's budget, they're including, if it's passed, they're including $50 million for, which is not enough, but it's some. I think it was 25 million last year for land banks, which would be a nice step if that was available to us. But that's where we're at.
And there's a lot of avenues to look at for funding, like DEP, part of this issue because of them in the watershed area, so maybe they can put some funding in it.
That's a big opportunity.
Start it up there.
So the county planning board, not department, but both have been discussing this and they completed a housing study and there's several recommendations. But the main recommendation coming from that study and going into the countywide strategic plan is the formation of a countywide housing coalition.
Right. And that's what I would.
To address all the multifaceted causes and effects and potential solutions, and the main solution being creation of a land bank. And is that a public-private?
Yeah, so
you know, it's
Combination,
but it's
right?
great that you're looking at it. This board definitely should have a role in that, and I would think a seat on that coalition at least, if not, you know, the leader role. But
I'd be interested.
yeah, okay, perfect.
yeah, it's there's no question. There's, as Bruce said, there's a lot
And
of
there's-
pieces.
It sounds
Maybe too
like
many
there's
pieces,
more
in my opinion.
more
Sometimes we make it too
potential
much.
for funding, like you're saying, coming.
And
you
there,
know, various levels of government talking about it.
and there's pieces in there we're never gonna be able, and that's new construction, because right now in Delaware County, it's, I don't know, $450,000 to do a 12,000 or 1,200 square foot house because of costs around here, and it's just gotten astronomical, so, you know, there's rehab of money where it's been tax foreclosed, you know, there's different things being pushed around.
Well, that might lead us into Glenn's discussion here on the housing infrastructure.
We're pushing for 200,000 to 300,000 right now. Project I'm working on.
This last week, you know, I don't get out enough, but wound up going over to Ellenville and Kingston by way through Liberty. And I saw 5 housing developments where they were 3- and 4-story apartment buildings going up. Old Brown's Hotel, Napanock area, also in, not Napanock, but Woodburn. I mean, Sullivan County is, if those apartments are filled, Sullivan County is going to jump in population like you wouldn't believe. And I don't know who's building them. And I can't think, I don't know anybody in Sullivan County government that I could actually call and say, who the hell is financing this thing? I mean, I saw 5 of them, and there were at least 5 of those 4-story units.
Mid-rise, yeah.
You know what I'm
There's a lot of
talking about?
Right.
Have you been over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I'm looking at it going, holy crap. I don't get it.
We don't have too many of them.
We don't want any of them.
Yeah, but,
I can tell you that.
yeah, but you know, if you go to a school that's being abandoned and turn them into apartments or,
Well,
you know, because,
I can only speak for around Hancock, right? And we were extremely, I think, fortunate with sports field on the west end of the area and now Nick Fitzpatrick and Aiden on the east end. Because these 2 guys are gonna have jobs that are real jobs. That means the people that work there can get mortgages and build single family homes and raise their children in the area. That to me is the key, because the fact that we now have less than 300 people K through 12 in our school system means we could actually put everybody back in one school and we could use the elementary school for senior housing.
Right.
Because if we can get the little old ladies and the widows out of the individual houses in the
Right.
village, right, it's all like one giant circle, but you
that's
know,
the
to build,
discussion that's
you know,
going
5
on.
apartment complexes in Delaware County.
Right.
I don't think that's the way we ought to be looking at this thing.
But that's part of the discussion in there.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was a huge thing.
So that was the thing I didn't get from that meeting they had with the study was great. So was the hors d'oeuvres. and everything. But that's the thing I kind of got out of it was at the end was the younger people from around the Margaretville area, there was like the local governments should be giving incentives to people to buy houses here. And I'm looking at Lenny Singo and I'm saying, you know, Lenny, you're the oldest guy in the room and I'm probably second. I go, those people over there have never seen inflation like this before. I can remember it. Right? And so, yeah, you know, no, that we're not going to give incentives from tax money for people to buy $400,000 homes in Louisiana.
Right.
But I think they're in for, you know, there's a regression to the mean sooner or later.
Yeah.
Right, but the example you gave is getting seniors out of their big houses into something, but there's nothing for them.
That's where we're,
That's
again,
where
we're
we're
only because we're stuck that way in Hancock because the senior housing we have, which is that old Reed Hospital.
Right.
Well, guess what? It's not really senior housing, it's dual use housing.
Right.
And there's some 40 or 50-year-old people in there that are on drugs that are all on disability. And the seniors don't want to be there with them.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, there's opportunities to move or shift some of this stuff around.
The other side of that, not just seniors, but if you do upscale housing, then you're potentially moving people out of, you know, middle income
Yeah.
houses and providing more opportunity for people.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of avenues, I guess we'll just I'm gonna keep moving forward on the land bank, just as aside. Obviously, we gotta bring all these pieces together at some point.
Do we have any contacts in Sullivan County to figure out where the heck all this came from?
I could talk to our buddy Walter, he would know.
Because it seems like,
I forgot about Walter.
Yeah, there's-
Walter probably owns 3 of the 5.
Or is the attorney.
They have a very active land bank down there too, so.
I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like,
Wayne,
oh,
I appreciate you getting all this information and passing it on. It's good.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
When I have the conversation with, if I ever do, I've called him twice and sent him emails. Steve Gowling at ESD, I'll pass on any information like that, but we'll just keep bringing it in here every month and we'll talk about it. You're gonna hear a lot. You guys are all gonna bring that back to us and see where we fit in the puzzle. The only frustration I would have is if it's a year from now and we're still sitting here talking about it versus having done something. I'm worried about the number of
Yeah, the
charters
went out the
going
window.
away. And what's the worst case if we put an application in the next 3 months? You know, versus waiting until they're all gone and having the state to have to recharter additional. It's just something we'll talk
could
about.
we move on that line where we're looking at the application and what it would take to fill it out and send it in? I mean, we
I haven't
might
had an
not
opportunity
qualify.
to look at the application yet, but
And
we can,
I would suggest that it probably would require us to somehow inventory these clusters of rehabable properties, right? Because that's what it looked like when I was reading, like Newburgh,
there's
they use
some
Newburgh as an example. They like the clusters, but in Delaware County, everything's
we
spread
don't
out.
have that. Right.
So we'll have to figure out like where can we find these twosies and threesies?
But
You
that's.
find it in Marydale.
We can start with the tax.
You got a whole town there already.
Marybeth from Marybeth.
Right. Yeah,
Half the damn town.
But that's the argument we could use, that we don't have clusters, we need to build clusters.
Right.
Yeah, so listen, if there's one thing you do to go through, in case we decide to pursue at least the application, go through that application, see if there's anything in there that,
Yeah, the what we might have to
yeah.
be
I
required.
know it has to be filled out by the county in this case, which is a non-issue. We are the county, I guess, to a degree, or at least Glenn is. And then.
well, we are formed specifically for the benefit of the county. We are considered an arm of the county.
And your bylaws were revised to expand to accommodate
Into
strategic.
And I'll bring it up at our next county plan,
Yeah,
the idea, so that we keep everybody abreast of it.
Yeah, you know, because here's the thing, at some, this whole housing thing, no one entity can impact it.
Or no
You know,
one solution.
Yeah, and so even no one board comprised of how many people is gonna be able to handle every aspects of this without subcommittees and further subcommittees and whatever. It's just gonna be a partnership and certain entities are gonna have lead on certain areas, and I just think this is a natural area for the IDA to have a lead on.
The committee they're talking about from county planning is just taking key people and then give direction and say,
Right.
okay, this has got to be turned over to the IDA.
Right,
This has to go to
absolutely,
the tax department, this has to go here, and see if we can make it
right,
work.
and I'd love for some of our board members to be on that coalition, not me, and then they can tell me what to do.
And I'm here like,
Okay.
we should give this the plan.
Yeah, there you go.
Next.
Okay, just briefly on this, this came to my attention late. It was first came out in like January, so, oh, sorry, I should introduce it first. Housing Infrastructure Grant through Empire State Development. So, grants through Empire State Development to support infrastructure related needs, specifically related to housing. So the state established this fund, $50 million. So I thought, okay, it's gonna be the usual, submit your application, blah, blah, blah. With some investigation, I found out that basically the way this first round is gonna happen is each county that's eligible for this funding has $1 million. And it's theirs if they want it. If not, they can send a letter, say, oh, no, we'll wait for the competitive round, take our money and give it to somebody else. So, there is a project, in the village of Delhi that due to, infrastructure issues, the developer who was previously was involved, said they just can't make the numbers work. And, this grant would potentially, alleviate that issue. Almost, I think it was like a 1.5 gap, this would take 1 million of it, it potentially helps move it forward. The owners of the property very interested in this, whether they end up, and they are not sure now, whether they would use the availability of this being made available from the county to get a new developer, or maybe they're just like, well, I guess we're the developer, and move forward with the project. You have until April 1st to submit an application, which is right around the corner. But the person at ESD who is, not running, she's not at that level, but lower, is a former colleague I know really well. And she said, look, if the county can get in a letter of an intent, because the first step is you provide a letter of an intent, you talk about the project with them, and then they invite you to submit an application. She said that if the county gets its letter of intent in by April 1st and goes into the ESD portal and creates this as a project and grant application, she said that will hold Delaware County's $1 million allotment, and it won't get scrubbed and then go back into future rounds. So I got permission from my committee and the chair of the county to go ahead and submit that letter of intent, understanding right now, we don't necessarily have a project scoped out, but that we'll work on it, but this will reserve our place in line. So bringing it to your attention, because if that happens, what we would, and we are awarded, what we would do would have, like we do with all of our grants, have the IDA enter into a subrecipient agreement with the county to manage the grant and hold all the funds and everything like that. No money coming out of the IDA pocket is contemplated. The grant is provided on a reimbursement basis. We would just be, on behalf of the county, the funds would flow into us and then to the developer. So we would have a pass-through rule on it.
It wouldn't take long to use up $1 million.
No, I was thinking that too.
No, because I did the numbers on it. I forget them off the top of my
Well, it
head. I
says
got
like
them saved somewhere.
10 new housing units support the creation of at least 10 new housing units are eligible for an award up to $1 million.
Yeah, so it's only for infrastructure. So for this specific project,
And then utilities.
yeah, they're talking like 16 to 22 units, single family units. Although some may be townhouse style, I forget where he came down on that. There's been multiple designs. The one company was interested in having them on a rental basis. If it goes through without a developer involved, they would just be made for sale, most likely. I forget where I was
For
going.
built houses,
What's that?
constructed, single family,
Yeah.
okay.
They would go, yeah.
Well, I didn't know. if you
So
improved lots.
so in order to make this work, there's like a quarter of a mile, if not more. I forget what it was. I think it was like 2,500 feet of sewer extension that would be necessary.
And
no.
and a lift station.
And
That
the
was-
lift station.
That was.
Yeah, but it has to be publicly owned infrastructure. And the village would not agree to own the lift
That-
station. So
at the
that would be a
time.
developer thing. But the pipeline itself is more than $1 million.
Yeah.
It would probably, just based on,
Probably $1 million.
it would be $1 million and a half. No, it's what, $150 a foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's also funding from CWC that could help with the infrastructure.
Yeah,
So
You still have to get water up there too, there's no water up there.
No,
They're
the
both
village
pretty
well
close.
is actually on the far side of it,
Oh, is that right?
so there is water already
The
there.
village, right, has an
Maybe it's
easement
the same
through the
brand.
property and a new well.
Yeah.
There. And the sewer line, I don't think it's, I don't know the distance exactly, but
It was over
It's on
1,000
the
feet,
asphalt.
yeah.
it's over 1,000 feet there, yeah. To go all the way down it, because
If
that's
it's
it,
$1,000 and it's $100 a foot, that's,
that's $1 million,
so.
yeah. I think that's probably a high price, but you know, this is cost.
That's without the lift station.
That's without the lift
Right.
station. And presumably they'd want to build the roads to village spec so that they would become a village street.
100%.
So if the pipeline didn't take up the $1 million, well, then the rest
Oh,
would
yeah.
go to the road, you know, so, yeah. So I am gonna submit
There's a lot
that
to
letter
it.
of intent. What's that?
That's
Yeah.
Step one.
Yeah, step one
Get
is the
that
letter of intent,
placeholder.
kind of trying to reserve our place in mind. Now, it's not 100%. She's saying she'll do it, but she's, you know, she's here, not here, you know, so.
So that NOI is the county? Or is
Yes, the
that-
county.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll fill it
Yeah,
out, Tina will sign it, yeah. It's just a one pager at this stage. I just have to make up some
So-
numbers and we're ready to go.
Wait a minute, 1,000 feet at 150
Dollars.
a foot is only $150,000,
Gotta add another zero, right?
Yeah,
right? Because it's 150 times 1,000.
that's 1.5.
I've got the links that are required. I just took them off. of Commit. I forget what it was. It came out over.
I have to hold my calculator.
They have another zero, right?
Yeah, it's 150,000.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. All right, so there's definitely more than $1 million worth of public.
I'm sure there is, yeah, and it won't go far, but I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
you know.
but that's right,
I'm a
yeah.
numbers guy.
Yeah.
I was convinced for the first 5 minutes.
And then you're like, oh, wait a
I'm
second.
still convinced.
He's good with numbers.
Yeah,
So while we're
That's
on
probably the
housing,
cost of the pipe, never mind.
Yeah,
the
that's,
whole
that,
one.
it could be the cost
oh,
of the
that
pipe.
could be.
So
No,
could be.
pipe's not $100.
Oh,
Yes.
depends which way.
yeah,
be.
Yeah, it is.
100 feet.
last
of
summer
pipe.
we talked about pro housing and I think somebody came in and made a presentation, right? Is that still a thing or?
Yes, pro housing's still a thing, but I don't necessarily, I think the state has softened a little bit that it's a requirement for this
Cause
funding
that was the
now.
case, right?
I
If you
think
didn't-
now it's bonus points.
Gotcha.
Do you know anything about that?
I,
Yeah,
that
it used to
sounds
be a
right, but I don't know.
requirement, but now I think it's just bonus.
Cause if
points.
your village didn't sign up, for pro housing, then you weren't eligible.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the villages in the county have.
There was some red tape, to it. And strings attached. I was just curious,
Yeah.
'cause I haven't heard that in, you know, quite a while.
Comptroller audit update.
Okay, so we talked about that. Bruce and Wayne had their meetings today. I think that's all that they'll need for members. Website and pilot monitoring is gonna
Okay,
be.
we're trying to get one with Scott.
Scott, I think, was gonna do it via Zoom,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So item B, Sheffield Estates, so, finally, on April, whatever the day in April will be, going before the village planning board to move forward with the subdivision regarding the townhomes and start the process officially for our site plan review for the Sheffield lot that we'll be creating and moving forward with turning into a shovel-ready lot. So that's back on board. We took a little while off while I was talking with some property owners.
Can we get something in there and just cut a tree or two down so it looks like we're doing something? Kind of, someone's bitching about that.
Oh, and
you're gonna make it a park.
Yeah, right.
And so, now that IDA owns it, we did apply for and receive, tax exempt status on that property. She's not very popular. but too bad. Okay, so that's all I have for updates.
Put a Walmart.
I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing. Yes, we did the leases, we did K tooling. I might be missing anything, but I think we're ready to move on.
Yep, good. What else do we do here?
Adjourn?
Adjourn for the IDA.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn the IDA meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There, all in favor?
Aye.
LDC. Meeting notes. Same change that we
Same
talked about
change.
earlier.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes for the LDC.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We pretty much did the treasurer's report already and motioned that. East Branch Holdings.
Okay, so, my file out. So East Branch Holdings. So East Branch Holdings is, I'm gonna stop recording.
Do we need to go into executive session?
Yeah, we probably should.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll never get it restarted, Glenn.
That's all right. I'll take notes from there on. I don't know, I mean, I'm gonna turn it off because I don't know how to stop recording. You wanna stop recording?
What is,
Oh, yeah,
is it here?
I assume.
If not, just
Everything you're saying is being recorded. You don't want to stop it? No, I don't. Maybe it's over there.
Stop it. Pause.
Oh, okay, good at that.
that.
You need to be careful, you get too good with when you make.
So we
mistakes
have-
all the time.
Yeah, that's why you never want to shine, right?
So we have two motions we'd like to make coming out of executive session. Starting with East Branch Holdings.
And I'll make that motion, or you can.
I'll make the motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, with the condition, right?
Yes, that they
Yes.
produce a bank letter.
Yep, thank you. Second motion regarding approval of Ravens View Genetics.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, hopefully, we're not referred to as the potheads.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna get out of this county if this, all this other stuff goes
I
on.
know.
You know,
Might not be a bad
No, no.
it-
thing. My kids already call me pothead, so.
Say pop header.
Pothead, because I was 19, lived in California, and had a VW van, so that, and long hair. So that already automatically made pothead in their eyes.
this is another form per our audit, per our conflict of interest policy. It's a bunch of things all in one. So it's, fiduciary duties, responsibilities, kind of restating that, conflict of interest, and then the financial disclosure. Oh, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't count.
Thanks.
Didn't we do this?
If you've done it,
I'll do it again just to make sure.
but I don't think anybody did or give them back to us.
Okay. Is this-
Except Wayne, he
We
handed
did
them
it
in
like
today.
20 minutes ago.
Is this the ethics policy itself?
No, this is just conflict of interest. Our ethics policy is in the board policies that were approved in the organizational meeting.
And while you're looking.
And basically, the conflict of interest just is you agree to disclose any conflict of interest. That's
Correct. That's how I read it.
yes.
Real or perceived, or
Yes.
just real.
You know, I. parse
That's in the
words
eye of the
out a little
beholder.
bit. Any other older new business while you're looking over that document?
And if you wanna look it over and get it to me, that's fine, but, you know, you can scan them in and send them back to me or mail them back. But
And while you're filling that out, I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second? Second. So, all in favor, I'm assuming? Aye.
You only need one motion.
Yes. Record and stop.
This,